With all of the changes in today's media, more and more businesses are leveraging the power of growing their business by growing their personal brand. You don't have to be a Kardashian or Elon Musk to do it. Anyone in any business can benefit from building a personal brand. And in this video, we're diving into how you can build your business by building your own personal brand. Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of the Liquid Digital Marketing Podcast. In this episode, we are talking about building your business with a personal brand. Okay, so let's just jump into this. What is a personal brand? A personal brand or personal branding is the practice of creating a brand around a person rather than a business entity. So a lot of businesses just operate and market as the business, which is pretty typical. But more and more what you're seeing is businesses marketing with a face of the company, building that personal brand. Like a great example is like Elon Musk, right? Like he is the owner of Tesla, right? Like whatever. So we all know that huge, crazy example, but that's really kind of what it is, right? So we all know him. He has a personality. You like him, you hate him, whatever. He has a personal brand. He is a known figure in the world, right? So obviously, pretty easy example. There's 100 of those examples, but even in a smaller niche, you're seeing personalities coming out of the brand. Where in the past, years ago, you didn't see that, right? It was the company. Well, now with the way social media is and other forms of media, you're seeing more personalities coming out and being the face of the brand. So, how can you leverage this? And what are the benefits of doing this? Why should you even bother with doing this or consider doing this? Well, number one is people connect with people, right? So people don't typically connect with just brands on the same level of the way they would connect with a person. It's just human nature for us to connect with another human versus an object. So that's one main reason. Also, what it ends up doing is it ends up leveraging you as an expert. And if you do it right, it leverages you as the expert in your industry or your niche. The other piece of this puzzle is it builds a deeper trust and connection with your audience because people can learn to know who you are, learn to like you, learn to trust you. It's way easier to trust and like a person than it is a brand or a company. Like by nature, you don't just typically trust and like a company because you don't know what's behind the curtain. But when it's a person, there is no curtain, right? You see the person, and if it's authentic and it's done right, then you build this nice personal brand that is attached to this company. Okay, so that's why you really should consider doing this. And here are some tips on how to get started with building your personal brand. Number one is being authentic. So the easiest way to build this brand is just to be yourself. Trying to be somebody you're not, or trying to, hide behind this curtain. People are going to see it. You're going to get exposed, and just be yourself. Like, people aren't going to like you, and there's people that are going to like you. Just get over it. Just be yourself and, be out there. Don't worry. Don't try to be someone you're not, because it just won't come off as authentic and who you are. And people enjoy that, right? Like, with all of the years up to recent, I feel like we haven't had that authenticity out there. And when you see it, it's refreshing. People want that. People want to see fails. People want to see behind the scenes. People want to see kind of like the hardships and the ugly sides. Not all like fairy tales and rainbows out there. So being authentic shows all of those sides. And I think that's really what helps the person connect. Okay, the next one is to always be providing value. So when you're building a personal brand, and if you're doing it from a standpoint of like educational and entertainment and being this person, you want to be providing this value continuously. You don't want to be selling, right? You don't want to come on like, hey, I'm so and so, buy this, no, that's not going to do it. You want to create a connection. You want to create a friendship. So you want to be providing value. This is going to also create that situation where you're leveraging yourself as an expert. If you're always providing great value, then it creates this facade that you know what you're talking about, right? You're the expert. It's going to create deeper trust and a deeper connection. You also want to be consistent in creating content. So if by not being consistent, then people start to kind of lose a little bit of trust, and it's hard to build that connection. So if one week you post all of this stuff and you're all out there and people are consuming it, then they don't hear from you from a month, then it's really hard to like trust, like, oh, I don't know, this person's kind of like scattered, they're in and out, they're not consistent. Being consistent shows that you're in it to win it. You're in it. You're there. You got their back. Because they know because you're consistently showing up for them. So that's what being consistent is. Okay. The next one is being the expert in your niche. I think just always providing value is going to do that, right? And it's going to leverage you as being that expert. The other tip is to use a medium that is built for personal connection, like video and audio. So mediums like TikTok, mediums like a podcast, or, so we got video, we got audio, doing lives or Instagram reels or all of these things, or video is prevalent. People can see you, they can see your body language, they can see how you're moving, they can see how you're talking, they, can connect with you and they get to know who you are, they see the personality. With audio, at least they get to hear you. They get to hear how your tone of your voice and how you come across and all of that. So video and audio are really going to be the mediums that are going to help build that connection. If you're building a brand through like just writing and images, it's possible, but it's going to be way easier and way faster to do it through video and audio. If you're trying to build your personal brand, it's also important that you collaborate with other influencers, other personal brands, and other creators in your industry or in your niche. This is going to put you at a peer level. If you aren't, and they are, then outside looking in, you're not part of that group. So if you ignore the influencers in your niche, if you ignore those personal brands and creators, then you're just kind of isolating yourself on this little island. So I highly recommend that you kind of drop that guard of their competition and collaborate with them. And that's going to build a stronger relationship, and it's going to show from the outside looking in that you guys are peers and that you are equal and that you are, in the same group. Now, this one I feel like is key. Personal brands are created through personal connections, and personal connections are created through conversations and communications in communities and in comments. So what this means is, in order to build a personal brand, you have to connect with your audience. You have to have conversations. You have to be in these communities, and you have to respond to your comments. This is where personal brands are created. So here's the things to avoid when building your personal brand. And the number one thing is ignoring your followers. If you really want to turn off a bunch of people, is just ignore them. Then you will have a really easy time of like turning off a big group of people. So I recommend really go into this with the intention of building a community, building conversations, and having communication with your followers. This is key. The other thing to avoid is creating poor content. You're going to create poor content, right? Like, it's going to happen. Like, there's some podcasts that I've done that have been duds. I was maybe off that day. Or there's some social content that just flopped. It's going to happen, and you want it to happen so that way you can build. You have to get out there. You have to post. You have to be creating content to get better content. But you have to be creating as much high-quality value content. When I say high quality, I don't necessarily mean aesthetic high quality. I mean, if you can, great. Aesthetics are great, but if you don't have to have the best camera out there to get started, just start getting content. What I mean by creating quality content is creating good value content. So you definitely want to avoid creating poor content. Again, the other thing to avoid is ignoring influencers in your space. The other one is not being authentic. If you're not yourself, then you're really not going to build that real personal brand. So you really, really want to go into it with knowing who you are, knowing how you want to come off, and just being that person, knowing who your audience is, knowing who you are, and just having that conversation with them. When I'm doing these podcasts and doing these videos, I have a person that I'm talking to, and that's how I come across, because I'm talking to that person. I'm not just sitting here in a room talking to a camera. I'm actually, in my mind, talking to a person of, who my target audience is. And I know who I am, and I know my goal and how I'm trying to come off, and I go back and I watch and I try to improve on that. So I'm always trying to be authentic, and I'm always trying to improve how I'm presenting. So the other thing is being afraid to be polarizing. What I mean by that is, turning people off, right? Like taking a stand for one thing or the other. And I think you want to be careful, right? Like, you don't want to be too polarizing. I mean, I guess that's up to you, right? Like what kind of brand or what kind of person you want to be. The more polarizing you are, the more people that will not like you, and the more people that will absolutely love you, right? Like, let's just take Donald Trump, for example. I mean, he's pretty damn polarizing. You either love Donald Trump or you hate Donald Trump. Like, I don't know how else to spin that one. I'm not a political guy, but that's a great example of a personal brand that is very polarizing. So being polarizing can really make people gravitate towards you, and also push people away that aren't like you. And that's not a bad thing, right? You can't be everything to everybody. Which kind of goes into the next thing, is branding yourself wrong, right? So then this is a tricky one. You got to come into it with a goal of like your brand. Like, what is your goal in your brand? Like, how do you want to come off? Who do you want to be? How do you want to serve your audience? And don't contradict that. Be authentic and be that person who you need to be to achieve that goal. So that would be branding yourself. If you didn't do that, it would be branding yourself wrong, like trying to come off in a different way than you should be. And the other piece is not being consistent, right? And which you kind of already talked about that. And that means, showing up consistently, because that builds trust. And when you stop showing up consistently, people start to lose trust that you're actually going to continue to show up. And the next big piece of this is forgetting that building a personal brand is a long-term strategy, and it is not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time, because it's like creating a really good, strong friendship doesn't just happen in one night. I mean, it can, I guess, but it takes time to really forge the roots of that friendship. And it's the same thing with a personal brand, right? Like, it's going to take time, and it's a long game. It's going to take a bunch of posting. It's going to be being consistent for people to really know that who they saw the first time is showing up again the second time. and is showing up again the third time, and then now they begin to trust this person. What happens when they've built this trust, and then all of a sudden you come out of left field with something they never expected, and now they're like, whoa, I didn't think he thought that way, or I didn't, now I don't know, how much to trust this person. So this is like the things with a personal brand. I mean, look at Will Smith and the face slap. I mean, that's his personal brand, and his actions like really changed his personal brand, right? Like, that is creating a bad personal brand. So, yeah, I mean, you see examples everywhere. But anyway, so the whole point of building this personal brand within your business is for people to connect with a person. And I think the important thing in this is not just building a personal brand, but building that brand and tying it back to your business. So as you're creating content, people need to see and know that you are a part of this bigger piece. Like, you have this business behind you that you're a part of. Like when you think Elon Musk, you think Tesla, right? Like, that's what you think. Well, this is what I think anyway. I would say that's what most people think. Anyway, that's what your personal brand is. Like, you want to tie it to your business. You want to, bring your business into your personal brand and be kind of like the driving person in front of it. So, all right. So that is building your business with a personal brand, and hopefully these tips are helpful. If you haven't considered this personal brand and building this, it can be scary when you're first starting out, but take these tips and just start to play with it. It's going to take time anyway. So just start thinking about, what would it look like for you to be the face of your company, or to have a face of your company? And what would it be to have that personal brand in your company? And what kind of doors can that open outside of, just people connecting with your company? For you as a person, it's going to probably open up doors that you never even thought. It's going to open up these doors of connecting with other people that just, if you were a company, would have never happened. So it's something I know I'm doing. I see others doing it. It's a great way with Reels and TikToks and video and audio and all of these new media streams out there for you. It's super easy and super effective. So I highly recommend you give this a shot and look into this. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm here to answer them, and we'll see you in the next video.